All right, and we are back with another episode of Lunch with a Lawyer. We are a few minutes late because we had a few technical difficulties, as they call it in the broadcasting world here with our application. But we are back on track, albeit 10 minutes late, so we apologize to our viewers today. Today's guest is my good friend Mirza Pehlic, and I wouldn't even know where to start, how to describe you, man. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You've just done so many things that I'm envious of. And today's topic is going to be CBD. But before we get into that, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audiences?
Yeah, as you said, my name is Mirza. I'm Bosnian. I've lived in the United States since I've been about 8 years old. Probably similar story to a lot of the listeners with the upbringing and the journey it took to get to the United States. But as of recently, I've gotten into the CBD industry, and Nadim's going to be harassing me with questions about that. It looks like.
Well, we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be talking about the CBD, which, as I said, like my brother who has epilepsy has been taking CBD oils for the past couple of years. You know, my parents have tried to help him with that stuff, but his epilepsy is so progressed that we've seen some improvements from that, but it really hasn't helped him the way we had expected it to. But the CBD industry these days, it's a big thing nationwide, and I think it has sparked a great debate about the benefits, pitfalls, and a lot of people still get CBD confused with marijuana and all that stuff. And I think that's going to be something to talk about today. So, how did you get into the CBD industry? Tell us the background of that.
So CBD is a topic that's probably surfaced for me while I was in college days. So probably somewhere around 10 years ago. And I'd heard through various friends and reading articles, I was always interested in homeopathic medicine. I'd learned about the benefits probably 10 years ago, but given the age I was at that time, didn't pursue anything seriously. Just as of recently, in attempting to get into various partnerships with in the CBD oil industry, things didn't pan out as planned, which meant for me I'd kind of worked on business plans and planning just in general for CBD for about 6 to 8 months. And being the entrepreneurial sort of spirited person I am, I just sort of had to leap off the ledge and felt like I had to do my own thing in the CBD oil industry. And we Nadim and I just did a podcast yesterday, and it was limited to, I believe, somewhere around 25 minutes. So I had a little bit of time to think and sort of what the highlights of what I sort of want to talk about today. And in sort of going back to your question, what brought CBD forefront was the passing of the Farm Bill in December of 2018, so just about 5 months ago. The Farm Bill made CBD legal across all 50 states, where previously it was just a select few states, usually West Coast, Colorado, the states that have previously legalized marijuana were also on the forefront of allowing CBD sales as well. So all of that was sort of what made me get into the industry as of now.
That is splendid. And it's been moving fast as well for you. I checked out your website yesterday. That's live, and you told me it's not 100% finished yet, but there's some great information on there, and we've posted it on our announcement. But let's talk more about let's back up. Explain a little bit the difference. And as I said, people get confused every time they hear CBD. They're thinking, okay, illegal drugs, no good, marijuana. I don't want my kids to get into something like that. So let's talk about the difference between those things and how CBD is actually beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to cover that. And you're absolutely right. I think there's a huge stigma associated with THC in general. And to clarify that, if you want to pull up that visual, Nadim, to the viewers, if you guys can see the visual here, I wanted to just kind of explain the difference between the hemp plant and the marijuana plant, because oftentimes those two do get confused. Excuse me. They both come from the cannabis family, but the hemp plant has very low concentrations of THC. On average, it has less than 0.3% THC, where the marijuana plant has upwards of 10% and higher, and the stuff that's really concentrated and really high in THC can be upwards of 25+%. So if you compare 25+% to less than 0.3% THC, there's a drastic difference in what they call the psychoactive effect, the stuff that makes you high. Our products actually, even though they are derived from the hemp plant, which has 0.3% THC, we actually take it through an extraction process, which removes even that 0.3%, giving our products a completely no THC CBD product available. So that again was to not so much because there's high levels of THC in our products, but we wanted to make our products marketable to working professionals, to athletes, to anybody that might even be scared of failing a drug test, let's say. So that's kind of the angle we chose in the product line we selected and why we did what we did.
And, we talked about it yesterday, and that kind of explained a lot of questions that I had when it comes back in the day. Marijuana plants were actually very simple, natural things, and people that were smoking marijuana, they just got that level-headedness, and you explained the concentration of CBD versus THC in those marijuana plants. And then people started messing with them down the road, and then all of a sudden you had these enormous level of THC, and people started going crazy about it. Now it's coming back down. Talk a little bit about that. That was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think yesterday I'd referenced a Netflix documentary, and I'm going to butcher this a little bit in re-explaining it, but there's a guy who grew up in the 70s and talks about going to a concert and being able to, pass around a joint, take a couple hits and be able to function and talk and not be completely out of his head. And where he was going with that is since the 70s, the marijuana plant has been genetically bred to be absolutely as high as possible in THC. So anywhere from single digit to 10%, 12%, it's now, like I said, with the high strands, 25% and higher in a lot of cases. Additionally to that, the plants in nature before they were genetically modified had a good balance of THC and CBD. And again, if I remember correctly, it was 30 THC molecules for every CBD, which gave you a very level-headed, high, controlled high, for lack of a better explanation. And now that level is upwards of 20,000 THC molecules still to that one CBD. So if you're somebody that doesn't smoke weed or have taken a long break from smoking, the amount of psychoactive THC in the plant is so high that a lot of times people will experience paranoia or just a discomfortable high. So this guy's pitch was, why don't we reverse engineer, and why is there not a market for this 10%, 12%, very balanced and euphoric and level-headed sort of high weed? Again, that's the marijuana plant, and that's very different, though, from the hemp plant, which CBD is derived from.
And as I said yesterday, and I'm going to say it again today, that kind of explains some personal experiences when it comes to experimentations back in my youth. And now you've kind of explained the marijuana part. Let's talk about the CBD aspect of this and how it can actually help people and how it's been shown to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. And research is continuously growing. And as I'm going out and marketing my company and meeting with suppliers and even customers, one thing I make very clear is things are continuously going to change for the better. Testing standards are going to improve. The industry as a whole, as demand grows for it, is going to improve. So the one thing that I can commit to is a continuous strive for the best quality products is what we're after. And I kind of sidetracked on your question. So
No, you perfectly answered that. But I also want to get the kind of relates to this, how your product is so pure that, and you mentioned that yesterday, 70% of the CBD products out there are actually not tested.
Correct.
And then people, when they try those and it doesn't do anything for them, they kind of give up. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So as many of you may or may not know, the industry is projected to go from a $500 million industry just a few months ago to a $22 billion industry by 2022. So in a matter of 3 years, it's supposed to go 40x. So That's absolutely tremendous growth for us. What we wanted to highlight, instead of, there are a lot of companies and products out there. So instead of going and talking badly about what people are not doing or how they're doing things incorrectly, we really wanted to focus on how do we differentiate ourselves from what's already existing in the industry. So the number one thing we were very focused on is the third party testing. Each of our products has a QR code on them where you scan that, it takes you to a third party portal where you can see exactly what's in the bottle. So our focus was just to add elements to our product to hopefully, if somebody goes into a head shop or some other CBD place, we hope to educate to where they look at the bottle and they say, okay, well, what's in here? How much CBD here? Where's the batch number? Where's the QR code? Just education is going to be key. Like you said, the issue is if somebody who has inflammation, chronic, whatever it is, and they want to attempt to use CBD for it, if they buy one of these products that hasn't been properly labeled or properly tested, there's a good chance that they're not getting what's inside the bottle. So their expected results probably won't be achieved, and they're going to go around kind of saying that CBD oil didn't work for them. So that's why our push with our marketing material and everything that we do, we really want to just educate, educate, educate. And I think one of our videos actually ends with do your homework and then come back and give us a shot, sort of thing. So our goal is for people to strive for quality products, whether that's our product or not.
That makes perfect sense. You said 70% of the products out there are really not properly tested the way it's supposed to be, and you fall into that 30% of really like rigorous testing and all the stuff that if somebody wants to go back and take a look at it, how it was done, they can scan that code and get it.
Yeah, and I'm not supposed to be marketing other brands, but you had mentioned that your brother for a long time has been using Charlotte's Web CBD oil, and again, when the competitor is as quality as somebody like Charlotte's Web, they are an absolutely great company, and I have nothing bad to say. I again, do your homework for if it isn't a reputable company or source or wherever you might be getting it from, just do your due diligence.
So let's talk a little bit about all the ailments that we CBD may help with. So let me pull up the other stuff right here. So here we are. So these are all the issues that CBD may help you with. Try it out. And what have you seen it work on the most? What have you seen? The help that people are getting out of it.
Yeah, I'll touch on that. Let me say a little bit about that graph. That actually, I last minute brought this into Nedim's office, so we quickly uploaded that. But the link to and where this graph comes from is actually a company out of California. It's a lab company called SC Labs. All the information that I provide to my customers comes from third-party sources. And I do that purposefully because I don't have a clinical background. I don't have a background in pharmacology or anything to do with labs. So all the information that we show to people, I want specifically to be from outside sources. The ailment guide here goes through a variety of items, from pain and inflammation to anxiety to psoriasis. In our existence of 3 months so far, our closest network of people, both family, work colleagues, and so on, has gotten to sample the product. The most extreme story, and this just happened 2 days ago, I was on my way down to Springfield, and my sister sends me a screenshot of a lady who was a stranger to her, but had broken down to Layla when they started talking about CBD because of the crazy amount of pain that she was in. I think 2 days later, and this is the screenshot I'm talking about, my sister Layla sends to me, and it's kissy faces, smiley faces, hugs. And she said something along the lines, I don't know if this is real life or if I'm delusional, but I'm not experiencing any pain. So that was the first kind of very drastic, emotional, somebody broke down and cried sort of thing. But again, anxiety, pain, inflammation is something I can personally speak to. As you know, I've wrecked a significant amount of vehicles, played some sports, BMX, beat myself up. I was at a point where I really couldn't stand, or shouldn't say stand, sit at a desk to where I had to have a standing desk. I've noticed tremendous improvements. And as a company, I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday. We have to be careful with what we market and what we say we can help because of the FDA gray area. Not to go into that. So I've read, and there's research to back things from tumors to cancer to very drastic success stories, but we can't go online and post things like, hey, you got cancer, you got tumor, come to us, we'll take care of you, sort of thing. So do your own research, do your own homework. And if you want to touch on the comparison with Big Pharma
and that's kind of what I was getting into is it's the research on this is still in its infancy because as it was a prohibited substance until recently, and so medical facilities couldn't really go dig into it too deep to figure out like what the benefits are of CBD. But now that it's kind of been blown wide open, I think there's going to be much more research done on what CBD can do for people. And on that note, just recently 2 pharma drugs based on the marijuana plant CBD extract have been made available to folks with epilepsy. And the reason I know that, as I said, my little brother, he has epilepsy, and he was recently prescribed. I think that medication is called Epidiolex or whatever it is, it's been coming for a while, but the FDA needed to get on top of it and approve it for consumers to use. So he's on it now. So still, he's only had it for a couple of weeks, so we don't know if it's going to work or not. We certainly are hoping that it will, but you never know. So it's still in its infancy. Having said that, besides the use on humans, this can also be used with animals.
Yes. We have a pet line as well. There's actually no difference between our CBD oil for humans and pets. It's the exact same oil, just a different label on the bottle. So our drive for quality, there is no difference between pets and humans for us. Obviously, we have dog treats, which we don't have treats for humans, but epilepsy, seizures, separation anxiety, allergies, the list goes on in terms of issues with pets, dogs, and even horses is one that is very significant, and a lot of research is being done in not just those 3, but other animals as well.
And our friend from yesterday who took a bag sample for his dog was all ecstatic that it's hopefully going to help his dog who was injured recently, and he's a good friend of mine, and he loves his dog. He's hoping to get another couple of years out of him. So we're hoping that the dog treats that he got yesterday will kind of help with that, because the dog is in a lot of pain. And at the end of the day, when you are in pain, you really want to try everything and anything. And I think it now is good its time as any to give CBD a chance and see if it's going to help you out. What is the name of your company?
The name of the company is CBD Helios, HELIOS. You can go to cbdhelios.com. As Nedim said, things have been moving so fast for us. The website is live. It's running. The products are on there. We like to consider ourselves as a company very creative, so it's going to look much better. We want to do very cool giveaways to both shelters, to communities, to people who can't afford some of this stuff. I know me and Dr. Abdic have talked about this and mentioned a little bit last night before our podcast about stuff like that. So, the pitch about the quality product and all that is great, but there is a buy-in about actually we're providing medicine, we're helping people. So there's that, and it's something strong to stand behind. So.
It really is. And as I said, I've got a little sample right here that I'm going to be using for my 3 bulging discs in my neck that I've got. And, my work is always behind the computer. I do a lot of typing, reading, and all that stuff, and my posture is not all that great. So besides the fact that I use Dr. Adic occasionally for an adjustment of my back, I'm going to try to, try this product right here. Instead of going towards, we're talking about ibuprofen, Tylenol, and all those other pain meds, that there is actually information out there that they are harmful to people, that they can lead into harder drugs and all that stuff. CBD so far, there's just not a whole lot of side effects that have been, shown.
the only side effect in all of my research, and anybody I've talked to that knows and is educated in the field, is feeling a little overly relaxed or tired and taking a higher dosage. That is so far the only side effect, which, and I'll touch on this very quickly. I'm not anti pharma, but there is a level of comfort that people automatically have with anything that's prescribed by a doctor that goes through the FDA process. And I think that the people's opinions of that is changing slowly because, and even you guys see the commercials on TV, it talks about and lists 30 different side effects, and some of them say it may cause death. They put on some nice music in the background and some attractive actors, and doctor writes the script and you're sold. To me, CBD oil, which is derived from the hemp plant, which is a single ingredient that's extracted, is something that's simplistic and I can wrap my head around, where a pharmaceutical drug that has thousands of ingredients and goes through a testing process of years, and then we don't know the long-term effects of that. There's a level of discomfort that I personally have, and I think is starting to grow around the globe, honestly. So.
Well, here's a great example along the lines of what you just explained. So as I said, my brother has epilepsy, and he has pretty much tried any and all epilepsy drugs that are available in the market right now. One of the drugs that he did not try, that my mom refused to give him, was a drug that the doctors wanted to prescribe. Side effects: 1 in 5,000 kids would get leukemia from it. That was, let's say, 10 years ago. 5 years later, no improvement. They're offering her that same drug again. Proven, 1 in 1,000 kids now all of a sudden is getting leukemia from that same drug that the doctors are trying to prescribe for my brother. My mom said, like, no, it's just not worth it. I mean, what's the point of him, God forbid, getting another, terminal illness from a drug that she's trying to make him feel better. And so the CBD product was a no-brainer because it's natural, let's try it out. Why not just have the doctors, try that instead of trying to get people onto the, something that may, and then it's been proven to cause leukemia. The other point is, and there's a lot of litigation going on right now in the legal community against doctors that have just been prescribing pain meds left and right, and that has caused people to commit suicide, to die of overdoses, to use the pain meds as a gateway drug to something much, much more harmful to them, and then they overdose. So it's just something to think about when CBD's, as I said, it's from a plant. It's so natural. Why not give it a try if you've got all these issues, right?
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah, and it's a personal experience, that I'm speaking of. So that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna give this a try instead of hitting Tylenol or ibuprofen every time I get a little neck pain from working 24 hours a day for my clients here at the office. So we'll try it out, and I'll give you guys an update as to how this worked out for me. If people want to find out more about your company, I did post that link on my site. What's the best way to get a hold of you besides that link?
So there is contact information on the website as well, which is cbdhelios.com. There's also a way to message on there. I do get all the information forwarded to me, whether that's phone call, message, email. So if you have any questions, concerns, want to know more, please feel free to reach out. And I think for the podcast yesterday and for today, we're going to add a little coupon code and the link. That way everybody can get 20% off for listening. Feel free to share it with family, friends, whoever. It doesn't expire. So that's just our little thank you for listening.
Being with us. Yeah,
absolutely.
So anything else, Mirza, that we have not covered that you want to add?
I could go on for 2 hours on CBD, maybe longer. So I tried to keep it to the big points, and I think we'll wrap it up with that.
I think we've covered that. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much to our viewers. Hey, Zio, good seeing you too, buddy. Amra will get to your questions as well. Thanks again for being with us. You all have yourself a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll be
Thank you
with you again next week.